Ah, aha, I'm connected. Yeah, see, connected. Yes. Oh, hola. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour. Ohayo gozaimasu. Ni hao. Sawadee. What else? Shenhoi. What do I know? Anyways, that's it for now. But anyways, why am I looking left? Why am I always looking left? Right, of course I haven't fixed my stuff up. from last time. Anyways, Mina Yokoso. Alright, class, settle down and let me tell you a story. Again, we're back to our like regularly scheduled programming. And yeah, guys, I mean, I guess happy accident that I sort of forgot to take this down like for last time. I was honestly like so worried that I got so paranoid when I saw the count that we now have 300 subs and everything. Guys, it will always be special to me. You guys will always be special to me. Alright? This is nowhere near the numbers of, other people. Others might not even appreciate this number, but guess what? I do. So guys, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I honestly don't know the words to describe my appreciation for, you guys joining me here. And you know what? I appreciate it. Right? So again, guys, no words can describe how much I appreciate all of this. But I was so worried, like, should I even like call this out? I mean, I honestly can't let this pass without saying thank you to you guys. But I was just so worried because I remember there was this Chibi Doki clip. I think she was aiming for like 10,000 followers or something on. Was it 10,000 subs or 10,000 followers on Twitch? And the thing is, no, I think it was followers, and she was about to reach 10k or something, and she had like an active counter as part of her stream. She was just so excited to hit 10k, and for some reason her viewers or her subs just kept messing with her and thinking at 99999, and then just she finally hits 10, and then they decided to like unsub just to mess with her. Anyways, that was a long time ago, and I was honestly worried, if I call this out to thank people, and some might just mess with me and just unsub just to ruin the number. But you know what? I honestly couldn't let this pass without thanking you guys. So again, thank you. No words can describe how much I appreciate it. Alright. Other than thank you. Oh, anyways, before I start tearing up, again, I'm so sorry. I am late. Thank you for waiting. Apparently, the power post thing to say is that thank you for waiting, or instead of saying sorry, I'm late. But I just got word that an old friend just went through some life-threatening violence, like someone tried to make an attempt on his life. It comes with a territory, it comes with a job. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm a VTuber, right? I went through a lot of I went through like since we're talking about history and we're talking about a milestone. I went through a lot of stuff in a sense that me and my friends, we made like a lot of enemies in a sense that during our time at service, like here's one example, right? During that time I was working for the judicial system. I can't say much more than that, but I was working for the judicial system. And the thing is, I was assigned to ones that would handle very sensitive matters. So think law and order SVU, but instead of working for the executive, or instead of working for the Department of Justice like cops do, I was working for the judiciary. And I remember one of the reasons, and I remember this one particular case. Like I said, imagine Law and Order Special Victims Unit, but instead of me being a cop, I was part of the judicial system. I was with the judiciary. So anyways, I remember it was storm season. And I haven't been to work for like a couple of of days because the roadways were flooding. And the thing is, it wasn't really that bad. Like if I honestly tried to cross I could honestly cross the road if I tried. But you know what? Leptospirosis is a thing here in the country. Like that's why you don't go messing around in flood waters because if tainted water gets to any open wound in your legs or on your foot, you will end up with leptospirosis and you're gonna have to go through dialysis. It will literally mess you up, like life-threatening level. So, anyways, I thought for safety, I'm just gonna lay off work for like a few days until the storm dies down. So I remember the storm finally subsides, and the roads are finally crossable. So I thought, you know what, might as well cross the road and be there extra early to like make up for all of the days that I missed because of the flood, or quote unquote the floods. So yeah, I got to work really early. It was like we were supposed to come in at 8, but I got there at 7, just prep everything, see what papers piled up on top of my desk. It wasn't much. But the thing is, I was there. I went into the judge's chambers. Got into my desk and started. And in less than 15 minutes, like 7:15, 7:10, the judge rushes in and sees me on my desk, and he said, "Midnight, I need you. Come here right now." So I thought, oh my god, is the judge himself? Is he gonna chastise me for not being at work for like the past 3 days or something? No, apparently one of the reasons why the judge was calling for me to get onto the court was that since it was like early in the morning, it was like 7 in the morning. The court interpreter wasn't there yet. Basically, what happens is that it was an indictment, right? Every time someone gets indicted for a crime in this little island, what happens is that that's basic an indictment or an arraignment is basically the time where an accused or when an alleged criminal would be informally informed of his crime, and there and then he would enter his plea. So basically, the judge needed someone who knew something a little bit something about the procedure. We need to indict this man now. He just handed me the paper because, of course, the judge can't read out the charges himself. It needs to be someone else. And it just so happens I was the only person available right there and then at 7 in the morning. And so I started reading. Him. You are hereby whatchamacallit, John Doe. Of course, I can't tell the real names of the people. You are hereby being accused of SAing. Jane Doe, a minor. It just dawned on me that one of the reasons why the judge was trying to rush through this indictment was that the accused or the suspect SA'd a minor. So that's why we wanted jurisdiction over him right there and then. So even if he doesn't show up into the succeeding hearings, we can literally issue a bench warrant for his arrest, regardless if he shows up in the next hearing or not. We could just, archive the case and let it stay there. Let him be a wanted man if he doesn't show up in the next few hearings. So, anyways. So, you are hereby formally indicted. What is your plea? Of course, he said not get. So, I honestly wasn't even looking in his face, at the suspect's face. I was just looking down at the paper because I was trying to basically speed read through it before I say the arraignment and the indictment. So anyways, he entered not guilty, and they scheduled his trial for his pre-trial for a later date. So anyways, that was the thing, right? So see, here's the thing, right? If I wasn't a VTuber, I wouldn't be able to talk about some of my past experiences when I worked when I was in the service. So anyway, so they set his appointment, they set his court date. And here's the thing, I guess it was karma for me not showing up to work for like the past 3 days. All right, midnight instead of your usual duties of typing up stuff at the back, our court interpreter didn't show up. Or he's also our court what you call it, the one that writes down notes and stuff. But anyways, you're gonna stay here with me for the entire day. And he did. Here's the thing, right? From 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. To 3 p.m. It was like non-stop, one trial after the other. It's like the judge, he didn't even call for lunch, and I looked back at him, and he was like, wait, this is wrong. I mean, the judge is like, he's over like 55 years old. It's impossible that, he won't call for a break. Because I could literally feel my stomach acid burning a hole through my intestines. Like, he should have called for a break. Even he should be feeling hungry by now. Because I just wanted to get to work as fast as I can. That's why I didn't have breakfast. So no breakfast, no lunch. And I was just there looking up at him. Oh my god, how come he's not calling for a break? And I look at, apparently he had like a box of empanadas under his desk, and he was just eating. Oh my god, no wonder he hasn't called for a break. He's eating on his desk. So at 3 p.m. he finally adjourned the final trial for the day, and oh my god, I was just so, oh thank god I could finally eat something. And what I do is that I go to my desk and I grab like my wallet. That is the only thing. I grabbed my wallet and my cigarettes, my cigarettes, and my lighter. That was it. Right? I basically opened the drawer. I left everything else. I left my weapon. I left my cell phone. Just my wallet and my cigarettes. Because I was so hungry, and I knew for a fact I'm gonna just get a meal or something, and then get a meal and then smoke. That's it. The day was over anyway. All the trials are over. I'm not gonna write. I'm not gonna write any more stuff up. So yeah. Anyways, I remember. It was like 3:15, 3:30. I ran towards like the nearest. I ran towards the nearest combini. Grabbed like a hot dog or something. Grabbed the hot dog finally, and I guess I was like more worried. I was more concerned of being able to being able to smoke. So anyways, the smoking area for that particular courthouse was like beside this condo beside. Anyways, it was, just imagine some sort of an alley, right? The problem was it was it's like between 3 and 4. So no one was there. It was deserted because regular lunch is like 12 p.m. lunchtime, and then it's like it's still a work day. It's still like the middle of a work day. And so I remember while I was smoking, of course I didn't have my cell phone. I could have just usually just smoke while while scrolling on my cell phone. I remember he was just there were these two guys, right? I look up. I was just looking around. Um and there were these two guys, and they were mean mugging me. I mean, they were looking at me hard, like real angry. They were looking at me hard, real angry. And I looked back like, all right, your problem. I mean, all that training, all that muscle. I was a younger man. This was like roughly, I think this was like roughly a decade ago. I was I was a younger man. I was in good physical form. This was pre-pandemic, so I was like 170 pounds. So yeah. So I was honestly confident, right? These two guys were mean mugging me, and I was looking at them like, do you two know how? And here's the thing, right? Even if I lose the fight, I was thinking to myself, even if I lose the fight, do you know how much trouble you're gonna be in if you attack someone? If you attack someone who works for the court, who works for the judiciary. So I looked at them, and they were still mean mugging me. I guess, I mean, I had my lanyard, I had my ID and everything. They know that I work uh for the judicial system, and if they attack me, it's gonna be like literally it's gonna be a real trouble for them. Like the cops won't let this go. The judge will not let this go. That one of his staff was attacked. So, anyways, I stepped forward. We're still doing this whole action star pose, cigarette in my mouth. I walked towards them. Who are these guys? And why does it look like they have a problem with me? Like they were really mean mugging me, like looking at me hard. And then I realized, as I got closer, because here's the thing, right? The entire day, my only concern was that the judge will not is not calling for a break, and I was just literally so hungry. Like I was just praying, please, judge, call for a break. I really need to eat. I haven't had breakfast yet. So, anyways, that was the only thing of my concern. I totally forgot that this morning we indicted this guy for SAing a minor. And that's when I realized, oh my god. When I got closer, oh my god, I finally realized why these two look like they're pissed off at me. I indicted this guy. We indicted this guy for SAing that minor this morning. I honestly just forgot because I was so hungry. And I looked at the other guy, the guy he was with, who was also mean mugging me. And I believe like, they were brothers because they have the same facial template. So, anyways. Alright, so and then that's when I also realized two more things. I left my weapon and I left my cell phone on my desk. All I had was my lighter and my cigarettes and my wallet. That was it. It was like I was just so hungry, just oh crap. Okay, it's gonna get more complicated, fighting without a weapon. But again, peak physical form. I bet you I could take these two down. And then out of nowhere, there was this noise. There was this a noisy group was just turned from the corner. It snapped all of us out of that moment because it was a noisy group just turned the corner. A bunch of City Hall men, I guess back their way inside City Hall or something. But anyways, I took that opportunity to jump in right behind them because we were all wearing the city lanyard. So yeah. Anyways, just or I mean, since we reached this milestone, one of the reasons why I chose to be a VTuber is because we made enemies. And I know for a fact, if I went all flesh tuber out there, people will try to get me in the worst way possible. We made a lot of enemies, during my time at service. And we are still recognizable because just imagine you had a couple of young guys fresh out who said, why don't we all serve? We're young. It's like, we don't need the money. So, why don't we serve the nation? Why don't we serve the country? So yeah, and I'm sorry. It's just that I remember that particular since we reached a milestone and something from my past as a younger man when I still had the energy to serve since one of the reasons why I'm late today is because I just heard a friend of mine, we just confirmed that a friend of mine still alive. Apparently an attempt has been made on his life, and yeah. You know what? To all the guys in service, so still in service, because you know what? Here's the thing, right? It's not just when when we thank people for their service or when we say service people, we just think of automatically military. No, actually, it also includes people out there who, works for law enforcement or even the judicial system. Like especially they have the court sheriffs and other uniform staff that works for for the judiciary. So yeah, again for all of the guys that are still out there, thank you for your service. All right, and again, you guys, thank you for this milestone. Uh, I honestly have no words to express my appreciation other than thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so why don't before I start tearing up again, why don't we just go? Why don't we just get in? Yeah. The return of Yarrick or interesting. Anyways, let's just go. Pa-ba! Great. So, every single Northern Faithful faction in Trench Crusade explained. So here's the thing, right? Like I said, like I promised, like about 2 weeks ago, we're restarting Trench Crusade for the simple reason that it's been almost a year since the announcement, since the Kickstarter. There's even the Antioch, was it the Antioch Strosstruppen now? But anyways, um, the developers of Fortress Games had a little bit of time to cook, in a sense that back then in 2025, 2024, most of the creators were just speculating on how the story is gonna be. But now I honestly find the whole thing way more interesting for the simple reason that the developers have had the time to cook, their writers have had time to cook, and most creators are no longer speculating in terms of providing us content. So just like before, we're gonna start with from the macro, from the wide-angled lens. Like we're gonna take a bird's eye view of all the factions and all that other stuff. So bird's eye view basically, and then we get closer, and much more specific. So for now, we've seen we've seen a timeline, and now we're gonna check out every Northern Faithful factions in the Trench Crusade. So, again, you guys, like it if you do. Thank you for the likes, by the way, and subscribe. The good Lord knows we need it. Here we go. Am I doing this right? Yeah, go. Of course, I haven't turned on the audio. Hold on. Oh, did I do? Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Hold on. There we go. All right, audio's on, and again, you know what? Thank you for the likes and subscribe. Christian Lord knows we need this.
If the Iron Sultanate is humanity's fortress in the Middle East, then the Northern Faithful are humanity's frozen.
I've been yapping for like the past 31 minutes. You know what? Fine. I just realized I'm out of coffee, and it might be a little bit awkward to ask for a break even before we begin. But fine. We're just gonna go. Okay, we're just going. Even though I don't have coffee, I'm out of coffee right now.
Frozen wall against something older, stranger, and in many ways more personal. While the Great War rages in the Levant, the kingdoms of the frozen north are fighting an entirely different kind of war. One with fewer certainties, less divine infrastructure, and an enemy that doesn't announce itself with 8.
Although this looks strangely like Stalingrad. I guess he's just interposing some similar looking Earth.
Centuries of siege.
But this is what I'm saying. It's had time to cook. So it's like, a good place to start now, since most of the creators are no longer speculating.
But instead tears open the sky without warning in the middle of a blizzard. This is the world of the Northern Faithful, and it covers Finland, Prussia, the Kalmar Union, the Tsardom of Novgorod, the Polish...
So Novgorod still exists? I mean, Novgorod shouldn't exist anymore. Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth shouldn't exist anymore, but I'm guessing the timeline's messed up since this whole thing began during the Crusades. So I'm guessing instead of the Teutonic Order basically crushing Novgorod, and basically crushing the Polish Lithuanian pagan Commonwealth or something, they didn't have time because they had like a common enemy, which is hell itself. So yeah, I honestly like it.
Lithuanian Commonwealth and
it's like it begs to it speaks to real history that real crusaders wouldn't have had time to deal with your basic pagans if the hell was opened the portal in another place.
Secret order watching all of them from a hidden valley. So let's break them all down.
Yeah, we're back.
So how did it all begin? When the Knights Templar committed the act of ultimate heresy in 1099 and tore open the gates of hell in Jerusalem, the devastation was immediate and total in the south. The Levant fell, Constantinople eventually fell, and the entire main theater of war locked into 800 years of grinding trench conflict in what was once the Holy Land. But the North didn't receive the same kind of sustained siege. What the North received was something arguably worse. In the vast coldness of the far north, the borders of creation sometimes give way, allowing a gaping hellmouth to manifest itself in the physical world. Some say this northern gate stands at a cross-section of ley lines where men fell prostrate before craven images in the dark days, while others say this was the place where the angel Azazel fell in the most desolate of all regions of the world. Whatever the theological
ley lines, there's that word again, because during at the House of Midnight, before this whole hullabaloo began, we have had like a lot, or we've had during the House of Midnight we encountered a lot of cult and basically people who dabbled in the occult and demonology, and we've encountered some books. Like, one even wanted like a contract, to sign a contract first, with regards to witchcraft and stuff like that. So there's that word again, something about ley lines. Because here's the thing, right? During the House at Midnight, although there, for some reason, we encountered a lot of, since, we were dealing with old books. So it wasn't like far off that we would encounter people who dabbled in the occult, or who dabbled in demonology, since again, old books, sort of a magnet for that. I mean, every now and then we would like encounter them, and some of them are actually quite interesting. But me personally, I remember we've had like we've talked to people, like me personally, while we were during that conversation, I honestly don't want to continue this interview, or this angle of conversation, because I feel like we're going towards this avenue, or this line of questioning, or this line of conversation that I honestly don't want to talk about, because some of them talking about contracts with entities, well, not entirely demonic, but still unknown entities. And again, one of the reasons why I'm a VTuber is that so I could talk about this, because if I was a flesh tuber, I honestly wouldn't feel comfortable talking talking about the time that I encountered those people who dabbled in demonology, who dabbled in the occult. Not only I feel like this is more for my own safety. So guys, I know there are like hackers out there. Please don't dox me, alright? I know you can do it. I know what you're capable of, but please don't hurt us. Please don't hurt us. We're just our dreams are small. We just want to do tabletop and other internet stuff now. So anyways, I'm sorry, just milestone, and I was just reminded of the time that that I had to like talk to people, or I had a conversation with people who dabbled in the occult and the demonology. Since earlier we were talking about the time when I was in the service, and I forgot my weapon. And I was about to go against like two guys unarmed. So anyways, just remember that. So anyway, something just remembered like years ago, when it was still the House at Midnight, and for some reason, and how old books, us going through old books, attracts some sort of people who dabbled in demonology and in the occult.
Truth, the result's the same. Hidden in the Kola Peninsula, a wound in
Kola Peninsula, okay.
Reality opens without warning, in a location and at a time that shifts with the internal politics of hell itself, and the North has to be ready for it every single time. When such a time comes, the skies turn red and a hail of brimstone burns everything it touches for miles around. As the gate yawns open, the unbearable heat of hell reduces forests to cinders, and the unearthly fumes turn animals into twisted monstrosities that rend each other and themselves in anguish. Then the Hellmouth disgorges the hosts of the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent.
Oh! Alright, so that's where they came from. Or Okay, so that's where that's where they literally just that's where they came out. Okay, good to know. Sorry, I am so sorry. Hold on. I have to answer something. Okay. Oh, I am so sorry. I just like had to answer several messages because messages are flooding in, and yeah, a friend of ours just had another attempt because a friend of ours who's still in the service just had an attempt on his life. So yeah, let's keep on going. Okay. So, anyways, up north is where hell came out, I guess.
Coming to challenge the rule of God. Now
That
here's
they
the
did.
thing. This isn't a
Oh
sustain.
wait, that's new art, by the way. I'm so sorry. It's because I'm always excited to see new art. That that way I can see like how stuff develop. But this one in the middle, this is new art.
The seven-headed serpent.
There we go. See, new art because I've seen these two before, but the one in the middle is new.
Coming to challenge the rule of God. Now here's the thing.
Ah,
This isn't a
bad
sustained
thing.
push like the one the Iron Sultanate has been holding for 800 years. This is an ambush, a catastrophe with no fixed schedule. The North doesn't get to build an iron wall and station artillery on it because they don't always know where the gate will appear next. And unlike the South, where the enemy is clearly demonic and universally understood to be evil, not all who fight for the Lords of Inferno in the
New
North.
art again. See, this is why one of the reasons why I want to cover this whole thing is because number one, I remember, was it in 24 or 25? I can't remember anyway. I was invited by some of their community leaders to come in for a demo. It's just that I was honestly couldn't find the opening to come in. And then I honestly forgot about it, that they invited me in for a demo. But a few weeks back, I was at this bolt action event, this World War II tabletop war game, bolt action warlord games. But anyways, they had an event, so I just had to come in to support the community because one of their leaders is a good friend of mine. And then while I was there playing one of the games, I encountered one of one of the existing players for the Trench Crusade community here in the Philippines. So yeah, he sort of like told me how everything's fine, how everything's going. So now, yeah, you know what? It's been a year. Maybe it's time to actually check it out since I honestly forgot. So, anyways, here we go. We're doing it. So since yeah, I'm honestly excited for new art. So I'm assuming these are Trench Pilgrims, since pictures of the saint. We have the Madonna and Child, the basic depiction of Madonna and Child. Always the basic depiction of Madonna and Child, and that looks like a Saint Joseph. So honestly, don't know what this one is. Anyways, keep on going.
See themselves as servants of evil.
Ooh.
The devils know how to appear beautiful and noble in the eyes of their followers to deceive the humans. So some of the North's own people fight against the faithful, convinced they're serving something righteous because the light of the Redeemer never shone as consistently here, and many still cling to the old ways and the old gods. This is the world the Northern faithful operate in. Unpredictable, underfunded compared to New Antioch, dealing with an enemy that corrupts from the inside as much as it charges from the outside.
Again, new art. We didn't have these engines. The Penitent engine. No. Penitent engine is 40K. We didn't have this particular art like last time. We made content about this. I honestly just, it fell out of my mind what we call these machines. No, because the Penitent engine is a 40K. So this again, what do you call this one? Honestly forgot, but you know what, it's just as bad as those let's keep on going.
And doing it mostly on their own.
The Synod of Strategic Prophecy.
So who coordinates the response? That'd be the Synod of Strategic Prophecy.
Sorry.
The Synod strives to predict the timing and the ever-shifting location of the Hellmouth's next appearance, so that the Church of the North and the...
Oh, okay, so the Hellmouth, or where Hell opens its mouth. That was just bad. Where Hell opens its mouth. It's not a forever open thing, I guess. So wait, we learned something new. See, last year, like I said, almost all content creators were simply speculating about the lore of Trench Crusade, because you know what, it's not that hard to speculate. You have the Crusade, you have the First World War, and then you can get like tidbits from the developers themselves, from the writers, from their content themselves. You can just go off from there, and you can always change it, or you can always redact it. But now, we actually have new stuff, like the SS, the OSS, the SSB. Apparently, like for example, the Hellmouth, I thought it was a forever open thing where just hundreds and thousands of never-ending hellspawn comes out. But no, apparently it's more like a portal that opens and closes. So yeah, we learned something new.
The forces of the Kalmar Union, the Knightly Orders of the North, and the Tsardom of Novgorod can muster to meet them in battle. Without the Synod, the northern nations would constantly be reacting after the gate had already opened and Hell's forces were already pouring through. So the Synod exists specifically to buy them the time to actually prepare. And the way they do it is extraordinary. The Valley of the Word serves as both the headquarters and spiritual home of the Synod. Its location remains one of the most closely guarded...
Hold on, I'm just gonna check out what Synod means. Like, what exactly is, like... Synod, meaning. They just keep synodality, derived from the Greek for walking together, a style of Catholic Church life prioritizing dialogue, listening, and shared decision-making among all members to fulfill its mission. So, like a democratic group, the Synod on Synodality. So, yeah, I'm guessing they're like a democratic group. It, decides on these things or something. Like a democratic research group, I guess.
Secrets in all of Christendom. A hidden temple nestled deep within a remote European gorge, where the very stones help to amplify the echo of God's words. Within its bounds, one feels the weight of an intense gaze that pierces all shadows and falsehoods, a pressure that reveals your innermost thoughts and exposes the deepest recesses of the soul. Inside this valley, the Synod has built something that would look absurd if it weren't so effective. The floor of the valley itself forms the cloister of the temple, a vast expanse covered with arrays of dishes, antennae.
So basically, it's like a listening post, like an overburdened or like an overacting listening post.
Radio telescopes and listening posts.
There we go.
All straining towards the heavens.
I think it's just a single listening post with like an overpowered listening post. One that speaks or tries to hear the word of the Lord.
Communicate with God.
There we go.
The cryptic messages they receive are processed through great difference
Why
engines
do they have to be
designed
cryptic?
by the Synod's ordained engineers.
I mean, that's the question, right? Why does it have to be cryptic?
Then translated, analyzed, and studied by scholar monks from many monasteries. Basically, the Synod has turned divine prophecy into an intelligence operation. They're not waiting for miracles. They're engineering conditions in which miracles can be systematically received, decoded, and converted into military strategy. The Synod's agents also tirelessly scour sanitary.
Again, you guys, I mean, just because I appreciate the whole thing, like, I mean, there are like, whatchamacallit? There are some although here's the thing, right? Grimdark in general, fantasy in general, I like it as a setting. But I honestly think that, sometimes the whole thing just goes, way beyond gratuitous. Like, fine, we've all know IRL that the concept of the castrati exists, that, they mutilate children for the art or whatever it is. But here's the thing, do we really need to see this? Like, I mean, it's already a grim dark world, it's already a grim reality, but do we really need, to go this far that we would show? That here in this world, we sort of like mutilate children to help us in our war effort. Like, dude, come on! We know it's grim dark, right? We know that this thing has been inspired by 40K. A lot of your artists, a lot of your people, you used to work for 40K for GW, but you know what? No need to go through this whole thing. Like, we're gonna even be more hardcore. We're gonna show you mutilated, we're gonna show you, like, mutilated children. In fact, we're gonna tell you stories about, mutilating children. Like, dude, no need to go that far. Honestly. The whole thing feels a bit, honestly, here's the thing, right? Guys, if you wanted a yes man, to all of things grim dark, to all things tabletop, find somewhere else. I'm gonna have to say my opinion here that, I feel like some of them just go way beyond. Some of them just go way a little bit too far just to show everyone how hardcore. Like, I feel like some of them just feels like, they're doing this to look cool and hardcore. Like, how a teenager would do something stupid to impress you or something, or like how a kid would do something foolish to impress, an adult or something. I feel like this is this way. I feel like it's the same, right? Like, no need to go through the uber gratuitous violence just to show us this is a grim dark world. We already know that this is a grim dark world. No need to mutilate children just to shock everyone. Just to be all hardcore or try to beat out, all the other grim dark stuff out there. There's no need for this. Like, I know, yeah, oh wait, what? I mean, what's the reasoning for this? Oh yeah, if we mutilate this child, he can hear the word of the Lord better? Doesn't hold any water, honestly. Oh, anyways, let's keep on going.
Sanitariums and asylums, searching for those who claim to hear the words of the Almighty.
Alright, just to get a final word in. We know it's hardcore, but no need to mutilate children. Alright?
Thankless task, as fewer than 1 in 10,000 that undergo the test have the true gift. The rest are prisoners of their own delusions, mere charlatans, or those whose minds have been broken by the horrors of the Great War.
Yeah.
But when they find someone genuine, they act immediately. Rarer still are the children who hear the word with clarity.
There we go.
And the Synod seeks them out at the earliest age possible.
See, new content, like, oh, okay, so we take children from their parents because, they can hear the word of the Lord. Same reason, same recruitment style as any Astartes chapter and faction out there. But come on, we've already taken them from their parents, we already trained them, we already tortured them, but do we really need to mutilate them completely? Like, honestly, way over the top, you guys. For at least for me. I believe this whole thing's over the top.
So they can become tacticians. Younger children with the gift hear the divine counsel far more clearly than even the most well-trained adult observers, which makes them the Synod's most valued assets. But valued is a complicated word here, because what happens to those children isn't education, it's transformation.
There we go.
The children are surgically, genetically, and chemically altered to make them perfectly suited to their role.
So, in other words, they turn children into... hold on, what do you call them again? What do you call those robots in 40K again? A servitor, yeah, sorry, I forgot. Here's the thing, ever since the pandemic, Thanksgiving, I've known the word servitor for years now, but for some reason, when I needed to remember it, it sort of dropped out of my mind. Anyways, so in other words, they turn children into servitors. That's it. See?
Must use special machines to communicate with God. Their seclusion is even more extreme than that of the observers, and the strain on their bodies and minds is far more severe. The Synod doesn't recruit these children.
They take. Of course. Why would they recruit if they could take?
It remakes them completely into something that can no longer exist outside the valley of the Word. That's the price of hearing God clearly in a world this broken. The warriors of the Synod who go out into the field are the observers. They don't deploy constantly or casually, as this order of warrior monks lives a life of absolute solitude, sharpening their minds and bodies.
Yeah. So, what I don't understand is that I was observing some of the uploads and posts in the groups today, and they've had like a bunch of French Crusade players nearby and an LGS nearby. And what I don't understand is that they just released the box. I honestly, here's the thing, right? I am so ignorant of how this system operates or how the community operates, because they just released a box like last year. And what I don't understand is how come they all have these minis? Were they like given the freedom to like, you know, print their own stuff and, you know, start playing with the system ASAP? Is that how it happens? Is that what's happening right now? Because I am honestly, it's been too long since I replied to their invite. I am honestly embarrassed to reply like, hey, it's like replying to a text like a week later. So hey, about that about that stuff you were asking me. Yes, by the way. So I feel like I'm a little bit embarrassed now to answer it. Oh yeah, I can come in this Friday or Saturday or something, like a year after I've been invited. Because my last response was, I'm gonna check my schedule and I'm gonna come in as soon as it opens up. And the thing is, my schedule got worse. And it's now like a year later. Now that, you know, things have opened up and, oh my god, I forgot. They invited me for a demo. Anyways, let's keep on going.
Bodies to make themselves living weapons in the hand of God. Once a soldier joins the order, they very rarely leave the Temple of the Word, and the only exception is when they're summoned to the battlefield, a situation where their unique abilities can decisively shift the balance in favor of the faithful. Their weapon of choice reflects exactly what they are. Though they master many weapons, the trench polearm stands as the preferred...
We've known the Observer for quite some time, you know, so they can hear the word of the Lord and everything, but we've known this is old art, so yeah. Was hoping there was new one, because that and the mutilated kid, old art. I was hoping they could have had like a new interpretation or something new.
Choice for observers, as this tool allows them to skillfully vault over barbed wire and drop into enemy trenches with devastating force. Guided by the omniscient words of the Almighty, they possess the ability to evade nearly any strike. With proper focus, they foresee impending attacks within the crystal of the Eye of God that's incorporated into their helmet, and enemies' efforts to take them down.
That's something. It just there was no explanation of what it all meant. At least, at least from the content that I saw last year. But now, apparently, this whole thing is meant to represent the Eye of God. So, yeah, something new, see? One of the reasons why I like new stuff like this is for the simple reason is that, we have a chance to grow along with the lore, whereas compared to, Warhammer, it's been around since, 87 or was it 86? I can't remember. So, yeah, the lore is just, already there. So it's like, trying to eat your away from the other side of the house or something. Like, way too much to consume. Whereas this, we could, like, grow along with the content. I mean, of course, just because we agree, I mean, going back to this whole, and, child mutilation thing, I don't agree with it. But you know what? Just like, in every system, in every, whatchamacallit, piece of art, you're not going to agree with everything. I mean, if you do, dude, come on. That's how this whole political thing happened. You just, you have to find a balance. You just can't agree with everything.
Are often frustrated, since the observer simply moves the minimum required to avoid any harm, knowing precisely where the blow of the heretic was going to land. However, even the slightest slip in their concentration means that they might lose the voice of God that guides them, rendering them just as vulnerable to death as any other mortal soldier. That last detail matters
He's still
enormously.
mortal. He represents the Eye of God. He didn't become the Eye of God. So yeah, I'm guessing. If this unit gets shot, it dies.
The observers are...
And the way it looks like, I don't think he's gonna be like some sort of a hardcore unit because he's meant to be protected. So it's more like a one-shot, one-kill. And if I'm to hazard a guess, he's gonna be more of like a light buffer. He's a light unit, and his job is to buff the units around him or something. If I'm to hazard a guess as to what his role is in the game.
Aren't invincible. They're people who have achieved an extraordinary state of divine connection that can be broken by a single moment of distraction. In the middle of a trench, in the middle of a war.
He needs to be protected while everyone around him is fighting. So yeah, he's gonna buff up everyone in that fight.
They're the most spiritually elevated soldiers on the faithful side.
Either that, or there's gonna be some sort of a hidden objective, and only he can find that hidden objective. So whatchamacallit, from the evil side, their job is to kill this guy, and from the good side, their job is to protect him until they find the objective or something. So that's it. Just imagine. I just saw this tabletop thing. It looked like an army builder, and how they basically do real-time strategy, and how they justify that is they use they call that clock that's set with a sand thing. Crap, I have known that word my entire life. The sand, hold on. See, now I have to Google the name of the sand clock thing. Oh, crap. Sand clock. Hourglass. It's an hourglass. Why would I forget? Again, ever since the pandemic, I have been like this. Like, things just dropped off.
And simultaneously the most fragile in the one way that matters most. There's one important thing to understand about the Synod, though. They're not answerable to anyone in the way the other northern factions are. In recent years, the War Cardinal has voiced criticism of the Synod, likening their tower to the hubristic act of Babel, and some claim his objections are less theological than political, since the Synod is becoming an independent army outside the control of the princes of the church. The Synod...
alright, so they're completely independent. So if like the CIA got its wish and it became a separate entity from the executive department. I mean, that was the thing. Well, why they killed JFK? JFK promised that he would destroy the CIA brick by brick. But see what happens.
is the North's intelligence organization, its prophecy engine, its early warning system, and increasingly its own armed force operating across the entire war, not just the Northern Front.
No, I
Whether
like
that's reassuring
So
or
that means it's like, you have the Inquisition, Lorica segment. I know, not the Lorica, no, that's the Roman armor. Anyways, so that's they're gonna be a faction within the Synod is a faction within itself. So some sort of an intelligence division type deal. I mean, this is a squad-based skirmish game, so yeah.
alarming depends entirely on how much you trust an organization whose most valuable assets are surgically altered children who can't leave the building they were remade inside.
Of course. So I imagined it's full of children who can't leave. If you guys remember that Rick and Morty episode where an entire planet of Mortys was surrounded a planet or a satellite that was being tortured so they wouldn't be detected. So I imagine something like that. Because you know what? Even the Faithful contains a building full of tortured and mutilated children. Because you know what? Not everything's grim, dark enough and everything. But honestly, a little bit too much. Doing way too much on that whole front. We know it's grim dark, but you know what? No need to go over the top. What, trying to one up GW or something? I don't think it's gonna be in that particular way, or it's gonna be that avenue, because I'm pretty sure in any form of literature you can come up with something shocking.
Now let's talk about the soldiers, because the Northern Faithful don't all fight the same way, and each nation's approach.
This is not this is a Walter Jakub art. Walter Jakub, and if this is, I'm not mistaken, what was that World War II with mech? I forgot the name of that particular game, but yeah. But anyways, Walter
to
Jakub,
this
if I'm not
war
mistaken.
reflects exactly where they are, what resources they have, and what kind of enemy they've been fighting the longest. Finland's the first line. The Hakapelitas are light cavalry troops of Finland, which act as the first line of defense against the heretic menace of the Northern Hellgate.
Of course.
Their name is derived from their war cry, Hakapale, roughly translated as strike at them, and it's echoed across many battlefields since the formation of the units in the 1600s to counter the opening of the Northern Hellgate.
But dude, what is up with that horse?
Finland does.
Is there gonna be like a cavalry unit or something? Or it's just like concept art? Like they ride, just like the Groons, they ride into battle and then fight like infantry or something.
Doesn't have the industrial base of Prussia or the institutional weight of the Tsardom of Novgorod. So instead, the protectors of the North rely on their trusty, cold-blooded Finn horses, smaller in size than many of their counterparts, but strong, hardy, and well-suited to the freezing temperatures of the harsh Finnish winter. And this isn't a failure of imagination, it's an adaptation. The Finn horse survives in conditions that would kill imported war horses. And in Finland's terrain, a horse that can navigate a frozen bog in the dark is worth more than any vehicle that'd get stuck in the same bog and freeze solid by morning. Few roads cross.
That didn't explain why it looks like that, but okay, let's keep on going.
It's the trackless forest of Finland, which stretches for hundreds of miles. The roads
So I'm assuming there's gonna be some sort of what was the name of that Finnish sniper, the White Death? I am trying to come up with his name. I know his name, but you know what? Yeah, that Finnish sniper, White Death thing. I'm assuming there's gonna be some sort of a hero unit like that running around. Simon Haiha! White Death, Finland, World War II.
Themselves act as ideal places to ambush the heretics, and the terrain outside the roads is even more dangerous, as within the impenetrable woodlands, deadly swamps and bogs await the unwary during the summer, while during the dark of winter, a deathly pall of snow descends upon the land. In other words, Finland turns its geography into a weapon. The land itself is on the side of the defenders, and any invading force that doesn't know these forests intimately is already dying before the first shot is fired. The Hakapelitas fight accordingly. They don't hold lines, and they don't build fortifications. During major invasions, the Hakapelitas act as recon and skirmish forces, delaying the enemy as the faithful muster their armies to counter them.
Going back to that argument, like, if you're gonna play World War I, why bother with the squad-based skirmish action stuff? I mean, I'm assuming it's gonna lead up to that in the future because, to be honest, when the whole Kickstarter began, I honestly wasn't sure of the whole thing, of what the concept was going to be. Only that, they had concept art, they had like prototype minis. But then again, if you think about it, yeah, it was from a Kickstarter's point of view, you're gonna have to start with the skirmish for the simple reason that you can't bring it up to scale from the get go. There's like way too many pitfalls that this as to how this project might fail. So yeah, I mean, skirmish is a way to go, but I hope like it just builds up to that with further success. That it doesn't stop here, because it wouldn't make any sense of reducing First World War action into like a squad based or a skirmish based game. Excuse me. Anyways, keep on going.
The tripwire, the warning system that actually walks up to the hellmouth and stares into it so that everyone else gets to prepare. And they adapt constantly. In recent years, the death factories of hell have begun to produce more and more tanks and other armored vehicles, so the Hakkapelitas have adapted their tactics in response, carrying anti-vehicle mines, Molotov cocktails, and other weapons capable of dealing with enemy armor alongside their
See, how would they know how to call it the Molotov cocktail if the Ribbentrop Molotov pact never happened? Like, did something alternate happen in the region of in the Molotov region or something? Was there an equivalent of the Molotov Ribbentrop pact? Is that why the Molotov cocktail was invented? I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting as to how they're going to reinterpret this. But yeah, I look forward to it.
Traditional weapons, which lack the power to pierce the metals crafted in the Iron City of Dis. This also matters as a piece of character detail.
Shrine
Most faithful
anchor
armies won't touch weapons
I remember, these are embedded shrine anchorites. I remember their names now.
taken from hell because of the fear of corruption. But Finnish soldiers are experts at using the weapons, munitions, and equipment taken from their fallen enemies. They can be seen handling rifles and blades taken as war prizes from fallen heretics. And that's because the warriors of the North can't afford squeamishness as a luxury. The Hakkapelitas are pragmatists, and not because they lack faith. It's because their faith has been tested against something immediate and lethal every single day, and they've learned that God helps those who use every available resource. Their most famous warrior, Johannes Falk Koskela, served for 7 years in New Antioch before returning to his northern homeland hardened by war. Haunted by his experiences, he enlisted with the border forces and is known for his near-suicidal.
So basically, you have a warrior who can't live in the world, or who can't just live in civilian live a normaler life as a civilian. Because check this out, right? I mean, one of the criticisms about this entire game is that the map literally leaves a lot of space. And you know what? If you look at the current map right now, where everything's going down, things doesn't seem so bad. Like, we've got like hell under control, something like that. So yeah, I guess he couldn't live life as a civilian or something.
Bravery in long-distance patrols that have taken him ever nearer to the Hellmouth itself. His faithful steed, Hela, shows the terrible signs of corruption that plague all animals that stray too close
so this is the hero. He's a hero unit.
The infernal gate, and he keeps her festooned with holy symbols, hoping to keep evil at bay. That detail tells you everything you need to know about the Hakkapelitas.
So he's trying to like exorcise the horse, or keep counter exorcism. He's doing some sort of counter exorcism by nailing these holy relics onto the horse, because the horse is being corrupted the closer he gets. So imagine he's wearing a full face mask. So you have to wonder what he looks like under that mask.
The horse is already showing demonic corruption, and he keeps riding anyway, spending his meager pay on protective icons, putting holy symbols on an animal that might already be lost, because that's what you do when there's no one else to do it.
The industrial hammer.
Now move south and the war changes character entirely. The Free State of Prussia is the North's industrial hammer. Where Finland has horses and forest knowledge, Prussia has engineering, elite doctrine, and soldiers selected specifically for the ability to look a demon in the eye and feel nothing except the desire to hit it with a trench club. The weapon of choice against the formidable obstacles of heretic fortifications in Duke Constantine XI's arsenal are the Stoßtruppen, the elite shock troops of the Free State of Prussia.
Yeah, we know who they are.
And even in this nation known for their militaristic ways, the Stoßtruppen are the elite, chosen from mountaineers and veterans of the fierce battles against the northern heretics, with the cream of the combat engineers and marksmen mixed in. The Stoßtruppen aren't normal soldiers who've been given a dangerous assignment. They're people who were already operating at the extreme edge of human capability in the northern campaigns, and were then selected from that group for an even more extreme role. The most important selection criteria is to have iron in your soul, because to engage with the armies of the damned...
Yeah, we can totally guess the inspiration for that particular motto, iron in your soul. You know, Peter Turbo, from Peter Turbo or something.
In close quarters combat requires a certain kind of soldier, one who's willing to detonate their last grenade when their own innards have been ripped open by the claws of a werewolf, or wrestle a heretic anointed and look into their eyes, see the hellfires raging there and not flinch, but bring their trench club down. Prussia's selecting for people who've passed a psychological threshold that most human beings simply can't reach. Their tactics reflect their nature. As the Stoßtruppen gather for an attack, no sound is heard, since each assault's been carefully practiced and any signs needed are given with hand signals. Heavy weapons of the unit open the assault, scattering the enemy and forcing them to take cover. Then it's a mad dash across no man's land, where violence commences as the
there were reports, I mean, depending on the legion, that the Roman army fought in silence, and there was something unnerving about that. Part of the psychological, psychological aspect of fighting Rome, or Rome induces into to its soldier, was that fight in silence. Whereas they faced the barbarian tribes in almost every aspect. They would scream, shout, promise bravery or something. It's basically hack and slash, go berserk. The Roman lines would simply just be quiet. They supposedly fight in silence. So it has some sort of psychological effect against the enemy. Just imagine you're all emotional, all tears and snot, all that war cry, and the guy's just there staring at you. No words. So yeah, we can definitely see the inspiration. I like it.
Flamethrowers sweep the exposed enemy, followed by a flurry of grenades into trenches and dugouts, and then the assault groups spread out like the wings of an eagle, clearing the trenches and sweeping behind the enemy lines. Compared to many other faithful soldiers, the Stoßtruppen are also allowed a great deal of freedom of decision-making on the battlefield. Many warbands are given high-level objectives and encouraged to find their own way to achieve them over days, weeks, and months, which is a significant departure from how most faithful armies operate. The Stoßtruppen are trusted to act independently at the squad level because their selection and training have made them capable of exactly that.
I mean, technically, won't each and every faction or squad acts independently at squad level? But no, I'm wrong, because here you have the word of God. So I'm guessing this synod can literally control its men on a squad-based level. So since they have the observers and they have human child radios or something,
that kind of judgment under exactly that kind of pressure. Amongst the numerous legendary Stoßtruppen warbands, there's one formation that rose to such renown it became the first example of Prussia's forces to arise in conversation: the 6th Gardekorps of Königsberg.
Ooh.
During the infamous Battle of the Princes, the 6th, surrounded by a seemingly endless web of enemy trench networks, performed an oblique order maneuver that saw the western flank of the heretic front lines collapse under a focused assault. They then repeated this maneuver relentlessly over the course of 2 long days, with just enough variation to make it unpredictable, and over a dozen heretic trenches were overpowered and cleared as a result. Prussia in this world is also notably one of the few democratic republics in the setting, which creates a fascinating contrast. In a world dominated by monarchies and church hierarchies,
See? Equality! This is how you do equality. This is how you do representation.
Russia has developed something approaching modern political organization, while simultaneously producing some of the most elite and brutal soldiers on the faithful side of the front.
Rawr.
Democracy and the Stoßtruppen aren't contradictions in this world. They're products of the same culture, a society that's decided its fate depends on
Democracy and stormtroopers aren't diametrically opposed concepts in this universe, I guess. But then again, it depends in the present political climate, you know, the whole ICE thing. So yeah, it could be that.
excellence and has built institutions accordingly.
The coalition in the Battle of Vilnius.
Now let's look at who holds the larger strategic picture together when the Hellmouth actually opens. The Hellmouth of the North never remains open for long, and when it does open, the Church of the North and the forces of the Kalmar Union, the Knightly Orders of the North and the Tsardom of Novgorod, must muster to meet them in battle. It's a war often fought in the middle of winter.
Alright. The Hellmouth opens, so Hellmouth opens, and this is a coalition, and they meet in the middle or something.
The servants of the court have proven to be just as adept at using intense cold and ice, as well as hellfire, in their war against the faithful of the North.
Yeah.
The Kalmar Union unites the Scandinavian kingdoms, giving them the combined military and naval reach needed to respond rapidly to a
This is new stuff, by the way. I have never heard of the Kalmar Union in my entire life.
Hellmouth that could open anywhere along a vast northern coastline.
Or at least in this particular concept.
The Tsardom of Novgorod covers the eastern approaches. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth contributes its legendary hussars, who can be observed in New Antioch brushing shoulders with the last remnants of the Varangian Guard, suggesting a military culture that commits forces to both the...
See, suggesting a military culture, at least, you know, some aspects are still considered anecdotal or conceptual at this point. So since they're not sure yet, they have yet to, you know, develop the entire thing. But you know, that's what makes this thing great. We can grow along along with the lore. That, you know, we can grow along that with the whole thing. That, you know, we can see as it develops real time. Whereas just, you know, unlike in GW, like we're just, you know, forced to consume this giant ass library from one end to the other and hope we like it or something. So yeah,
southern and northern theaters simultaneously. The full coalition of the Northern Faithful was tested to its absolute limit in the most recent major invasion.
New art!
A full-scale invasion by the followers of Zeminiar struck deep into the south in 1908, and the invaders were only stopped in the cataclysmic Battle of Vilnius, where the combined forces of the Kalmar Union, Free State of Prussia, Tsardom of Novgorod, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and the Principality of Kiev stopped them at the very gates of the ancient city.
Of course they did.
Think about what that actually means. Vilnius, 1908. 6 years before the current year in the setting. That invasion reached Vilnius, which is far south of Finland, far south of the Kola Peninsula where the Hellmouth opens, which means the heretic forces had already driven through hundreds of miles of faithful territory before the coalition stopped them at a city's gates. The Northern Front isn't a line that holds comfortably. It's a line that catastrophically fails on a generational basis and only gets restored through the combined sacrifice
Why bother?
of every northern nation simultaneously. And that coalition nearly wasn't enough. This is what makes the Northern Faithful so compelling as a group. The Iron Sultanate has an iron wall that's never been breached in 800 years. Divine architecture so robust that when it cracks, it seals itself with molten metal. And an organized military doctrine built over centuries of continuous defensive warfare. The Northern Faithful, on the other hand, have forests, a cavalry unit that spends its pay on horse crucifixes, shock troopers selected for the psychological ability to keep fighting after being disemboweled, a secret organization that surgically remakes children into living receivers for the voice of God, and a gate that opened 6 years ago and very nearly ended everything. They're
Uh-huh.
winning, but they're winning the way Finland wins things. Barely, expensively, with every
And how come we don't get a wall? How come the Christian faithful don't get that wall? How come?
possible resource on the table, including the equipment of their dead enemies.
Oh wait, the shadow of Zemeniar.
And then there's the shadow over all of it. There's a deeper concern that the War Cardinal holds about the Northern Gate. Zemeniar, one of the royalty of fallen angels, is also the devil of the North, and the Council of Saints has issued a dire warning to the princes of the Church. If this scion of hell ever becomes the serpent head of pride, he'll come to claim the North as his own, and mountains will tremble at his passing. Zemeniar isn't just a commander who sends armies through the Hellmouth. He's a fallen angel with a personal claim on the North, and he considers it his territory.
A personal claim? Right.
1908 invasion was carried out by his followers, which means the near disaster at Vilnius was him testing his strength, measuring what it'd take to break through, before he's even achieved his full potential within the infernal hierarchy. If he rises to become the serpent head of pride, the next invasion won't be stopped at Vilnius. It won't be stopped anywhere the Northern Faithful have currently managed to hold. This is the war the Northern Faithful are actually fighting. Not just the one happening right now with guns and explosive lances and difference engines processing divine prophecy. They're racing against the moment when Zemeniar becomes something larger, something that turns the occasional catastrophic breach into a permanent occupation.
The Forgotten Front. I wonder how they forgot.
So what holds all of this together? What's the thread running through Finland, Prussia, the Kalmar Union, Novgorod, the Commonwealth, and the Synod? It's the understanding that they're the Forgotten Front. New Antioch gets the tithes. New Antioch gets the volunteers from across Christendom. And New Antioch is where the Duke commands the nominal supreme allied force of the faithful. These incursions in the north tie up the greater part of the strength of the people here, which otherwise could be used to...
So I'm assuming this is like the lesser known Teutonic or the lesser known Crusader front. Because when they say Crusade, you always think Orlando Bloom in the desert. But the Teutonic orders foray into Novgorod and Poland, Lithuania was although well recorded, but less popular, I guess. So yeah.
Bolster the main theater of war in the Levant. Every soldier the North sends to Finland, every Stostruppen squad clearing a heretic trench in the snow, every Hakapolita rider spending their wages on a crucifix for a horse that's already beginning to show the signs of corruption, every child the Synod surgically remakes into something that can hear God and will never leave the valley again, is a resource that doesn't go south to reinforce New Antioch. The Northern Faithful are giving everything they have to a front that the rest of the faithful world is only dimly aware of. They're doing it because if they stop, Zemeniar wins the North, and a fallen angel with a continent is a very different strategic problem than one without. They're underfunded, understaffed, fighting on terrain that's lethal to everyone, including themselves, against an enemy that opens without announcement.
So, if this was a Song of Ice and Fire, this is the wall. Okay.
Service of a war that gets less attention than the main front. And they've been doing it for centuries.
Of course they are. Anyways, you guys, thank you for the likes. And again, subscribe. The good Lord knows we need it for that war effort. And bye! Alright, let's check out the others. What's this? Why the Amazon... Sorry, I sort of kept it running. Okay, so why the Amazon... Okay, there we go. Why the Amazon makes Australia look like a joke. Apart from, this video being new, I honestly wanted to check it out because I read somewhere that, the Amazon is basically the remnant of a civilization, of an apocalypse that was ruined or destroyed by an apocalyptic event. Because almost everything in the Amazon, almost every plant in the Amazon can be traced back into a domesticated form of plant life. Like, basically, And a civilization existed there, and the whole thing just became overgrown. And like there's some sort of hidden civilization that fell, and then everything inside the Amazon just became overgrown and re-evolved, because almost every plant there is a domesticated form of something, which is strange because usually they grab a plant, they domesticate it, and then that's how it becomes domesticated. But you know what? In the Amazon, it's complete reverse. These things are domesticated to begin with. It just became like a little bit too overgrown. So yeah, lots of mysteries inside it. And it might be gone soon, being, the last lung of the earth or something. And it's a panther. No. Panther is dark. Cheetah trying to get rid of a crocodile or gator. I had never been able to tell the difference. But anyways, let's go.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no.
If Australia is saying
Again, you guys, like it if you do, and subscribe, or else whatever this thing is will be under your bed.
sandbox, then the Amazon is its older brother raised by Brazil's Snake Island and tutored by the Darien Gap while babysat by the Serengeti. The land of felony deer and eight-legged landlords is a country club compared to the largest rainforest and factory of nonsense on the planet. Because Australia is not that bad for what its reputation is, and for the most part, discernment and common sense will keep you in present tense. But also the Amazon would take Australia's lunch money. This is a jungle that has swallowed cities, animated nightmares.
See, swallowed cities? So, yeah, animated nightmare. So basically a death of the dead civilization or something.
And even Charles Darwin was naturally selected as a tribute to the forest. Allegedly. The Amazon is a living bullet hell from top to bottom, but the most dangerous animals in it, and the ones most likely to leave you full-time horizontal, will surprise you.
Really?
And what better way to start than with the actual king of the jungle?
A cheetah? Is it a cheetah? Is that a cheetah? You, rawr. Every time I see something like this, it's like Will Ferrell's The Anchor Man, the Sex Panther cologne thing. Always reminds me of that.
The Yaguara, the cat whose name is He Who Kills with One Leap. Fitting, because this cat
Alright, so my mistake, not a cheetah, but the iguana.
Cat is a walking one-shot, and arguably one of the most unfair apex predators out there. They can swim better than any big cat ever should. They can also climb, and these talents they'll combine to lay an absolute pain on the food chain. Jaguars are the third largest cat, and the biggest you'll find in America.
Jaguar.
But pound for pound, no other cat bites harder. Thanks to a wide skull packed with masseter muscles and a shorter jaw for more crushing leverage, the motivated jaguar is said to have a bite force 7 times its own body weight, outclassing their carnivorous counterparts. The bull shark of the big cats has a bite that can break through a sea turtle's carapace, which they regularly prey on. They also flatline caiman, thanks to the jaguar's habit of going for the back of the head. It's a hell of an attitude adjustment, one that can penetrate the skull and pierce the brain and leave a caiman anything but okay. So safe to say, you'd have no chance if John Whiskers decided to make you a memory. Victims of jaguar attacks all have one thing in common, and it's that they all look like they were mauled by a claw hammer.
So I'm guessing cheetahs don't climb trees and jaguars jump. Panther from Jungle Book. Alright, the dark ones, right? Jaguar. No. Panther. Sex Panther. Alright. From, whatchamacallit? Yeah, I'm the Anchor Man.
In 2010, a 17-year-old was returning from a fishing trip when a jaguar exploded out of a ravine and jumped onto the boat, knocking both into the water before resurfacing with the teen's head in its mouth. A bystander fended the cat off with an iron pipe, and somehow the teen survived despite devastating head trauma, memory loss, and bone fragments from his skull nearly piercing his brain. In 2008, a jaguar...
So the guy survived, not a man killer yet. Not yet.
Wandered into an open tent and mauled the 21-year-old inside to death, with his body found with fatal damage to his spinal cord. Jaguars are the Amazon equalizer, and what many people would fear
so they know, they aim for the weak spots. Alright, got it.
Most in the jungle, but the humbling part is...
And they're definitely not shy about taking on humans.
they could easily do way worse. Out of all the big cats,
Yeah.
it's jaguar attacks that are the least likely, other than snow leopards, and they live on Heaven's driveway. From 1950 to
Heaven's
2025, there have been only 84 recorded jaguar attacks on people
Not bad.
in the Brazilian Amazon, with 13 deaths
Alright,
that
it's
we
bad.
know of. Not
That
only
we
is that a
know
little
of.
more than one attack a year, many incidents involve hunters flanked by hunting dogs. Most people that have run into a wild jaguar will tell you they're more likely to barely acknowledge you and just keep it pushing. This is an apex predator that actively avoids us. And for good reason. Considering humans nearly wiped them out and they're only just starting to come back to the United States, we're definitely what this brolic big cat has nightmares about. And while none of that's any solace if you do get pressed by a jaguar, there's actually much worse things to encounter in the Amazon than a leopard that lifts. For example,
A leopard that lifts. What is that?
you'll probably never hear a sound like that in the Amazon.
What is that?
But if you do, you may never hear
Excuse me.
anything ever again. Because a gang of giant river otters can absolutely cancel you. One alone can grow to 6 feet long and is tough enough to square up with a jaguar. But an army of arañas is like a high-functioning water wolf pack.
Arañas.
These giga otters will also victimize caiman, with scientists watching a pack of fur piranhas eviscerate a 5-foot caiman to nothing. No bones, no skull, just a former concept in under 45 minutes.
Just a
Giant otters are
former
built
concept.
like a bad trip. With eyes that could win a staring
So they will pass tense to you. Okay.
contest with the void. But just like with jaguars, it's actually their cousins that do more damage. Despite
Shocker.
local legends of giant otters capsizing canoes and tearing the canoeists to shreds, this bug-eyed breaststroking abomination mostly eats fish and rarely comes into contact with people. There's no case of a wild giant otter authoring a human obituary, and if one did, it would likely be defensive. But God help you if you offend otters enough for that, because this man showed what the consequences could be. 'Cause after rescuing a child that had fallen into the otter den at a zoo, Sergeant Silvio Hollenbach was swarmed and mauled by a family of enraged otters, which ultimately killed him. But an important fact is, it was likely in defense of recently born
heard of
otter
that.
pups. So just like a jaguar, this is an apex predator that's more likely to ignore you than gore you. But it's always best to respect the creature that could put a jaguar in reverse with no key. Which is why you should be more afraid of the giant anteater, the ultimate sleeper build, because the same claws they use to break into termite mounds can easily tuck you in for a permanap. And when you realize termite mounds are built like concrete, then you'll realize that I lied. A 7-foot feather duster is something a jaguar has to worry about. Giant anteaters have killed jaguars, and they have a human body count too. In 2012, a 47-year-old hunter approached an anteater head on, as if he didn't take the animal seriously. The anteater slashed his thigh and bled him to death. 2 years earlier, an anteater defended itself against another hunter, killed him after severing his femoral artery. A homicidal panda-armed vacuum cleaner is not a joke.
You like always have to like protect that femoral artery. Same thing happened here in the Philippines, but it had nothing to do with exotic animals. But it was a rooster. A bunch of police officers, a squad of police officers, was sent to break to basically disband this illegal cockfighting ring or syndicate in the middle of a cornfield or something, or a rice field or something. Anyways, here's the thing, right? The participants, the crowd dispersed well enough, so the officers were just left there with the evidence, and most of them were basically roosters. And one of the roosters was still wearing its blades. Basically, that's how cockfighting happens, to make the fight quicker, is that they attach blades on the back of the rooster's feet, to make them lethal, so every match is a death match. Anyways, so the officers were there collecting evidence, and one of the roosters basically jumped up, and it slashed the officer's thigh and hit the femoral artery. So yeah, he literally got one shot. That officer got one-shotted by a rooster, by an armed rooster. And he was just there to collect evidence or something. Because the chicken was the evidence.
The first red flag is being anything that comfortable in the presence of a predator. But the reason I'd be more nervous around a termite terminator than a jaguar is the predator paradox. Remember,
predator
with predators,
paradox?
you gotta earn their concern. Unless cubs are involved, otters won't bother, and jaguars are big enough to not care. But a legally blind Freddy Krueger steroid sloth will bleed you the first time you look like a threat. And they don't get safer in captivity, because in 2007, a zookeeper was gored so badly, she had to get her leg amputated in an operation that ultimately killed her. You're gonna learn that you fear the prey more than the predator, which is why it's surprising that arguably the jaguar's most feared prey is an animal you probably wouldn't think of. You're screwed if you get pressed by peccary. Not just because they have tusks that can emancipate your insides, because they roll in packs too and will defend each other. 300-pound jaguars have been driven up the trees by murder swine, and from this video you can see they'll deliver that same smoke to people. This is the mammal that scares me the most in the Amazon.
Really?
If you see one, you know many more will follow.
So they're
People
pack,
have found dead jaguars
hunters.
with stab wounds, but surrounded by hooves. That pretty much tells you how the cat went out. Not only is this not a pig likely responsible for gun laws in certain states, it's arguably the worst mammalian jump scare in the jungle. But the most dangerous is an animal you may not have even considered, unless you live there. Because in a study interviewing over 120 people, more than 40% had been attacked by a vampire bat. Only 3 species regularly feed on blood, but the common vampire bat specializes in bleeding mammals. Usually that means seals and livestock, but opportunity can bring them right to humans. The first known outbreak of human rabies transmitted by bats was in 1930s Trinidad, where up to 90 people died. In 2005, there were 55 human rabies.
Wait, if the transmission of 90 people died, that means it's bad. That means a constant average attack. So,
cases caused by bats, which was up from the 46 in 2004. Since the 1930s, it's estimated that over 1,000 people have died to vampire bat-assisted rabies.
There we go.
The bulk being in Brazil and Peru. Now, bats already get a lot of shit, and I feel bad for even contributing to it. Just keep in mind that typically less than 1% of bats in an area may have rabies at any given time, and they're only really a problem in places with difficult access to medical attention, like the Amazon. But there's also a chance bats being more dangerous everywhere thanks to us. One species was said to only bleed birds like guan and tinamous, but with their natural prey driven out by human activity, they started resorting to people. With a 2016 study finding human blood in bat samples. Mind you, before it was thought that these bats would rather starve than drink mammalian blood. Bats have an unfair reputation for what they do for the world. Without them, we wouldn't have chocolate or tequila. But it'd also be a lie if I said the chances you fall asleep outside and get your blood assets drained aren't zero. In their defense, the mammals of the Amazon are only responsible.
So just imagine if you're sleeping outside like that and you thought, it was a mosquito or something, then boom, rabies.
Responsible for a fraction of the life retirements there. Well, most of the mammals. Wink, wink. But it's the reptiles that are more infamous. And no reptile displays the insanity of the Amazon more than the caiman. I feel so bad for the caiman. It seems evolving on a winning team only led to them getting bodied. They get their wings split by jaguars and can get mauled by otters, squeezed to a flat line by anaconda, and electrocuted by an animal that has
someone has to get stepped on.
No business having that power. When they're small, they can get attacked on tightened by heron or ravished by rodents. And when they finally get big enough, caiman earned the ire of the most dangerous predator of all time. Caiman got dropped into hardcore server and have been getting curb stomped by the jungle census since. Except there's one caiman this doesn't really apply to. The black caiman can grow to 16 feet long, weigh over 1,000 pounds, and an adult would not take this crap from a jaguar. In fact, in the land of apex,
but that's a big if it grows to an adult size.
Predators, the black caiman might be the apex predator, as many locals fear them more than any jaguar, otter, or eel. Since 2014, there have been 66 caiman attacks with 19 deaths, with most occurring near fishing sites. And while most of these attacks are defensive or straight up provoked by people, the scariest thing is their personalities. Caiman in areas where they've historically been hunted are shy and super people avoiding. But in other areas, people will tell you that they'll attack anything that moves. And I promise you're not ready for how powerful the biggest member of the alligator family can be. Just the force of their tail can shatter your knee with a well-aimed swing. But unlike crocodiles, caiman don't really have the reputation for becoming man-eaters, and like others, a majority of their victims are fish. And again, it's another example of humans being the real monsters. Because the black caiman was nearly poached into extinction for its hide, so bad that it led to the explosion of the capybara and piranha that were being kept.
River monsters? No, History Channel. Swamp people.
In check. Which ironically would only bite humanity right in the agriculture. But there's one reptile that has a reputation worse than the caiman, and it's...
Anaconda?
This trigger warning is only because my mom's afraid of snakes, and if you're like her, go to this timestamp. Last warning, because the other side of this trigger warning is the biggest snake on the planet. Not the longest, that would be the reticulated python. But the heavyweight title goes to the green anaconda. Now, the anaconda is actually the animal victim to the most...
Depends on the generation you're in, but it all started with that Jennifer Lopez film.
egregious size exaggerations of
Do you guys even know who Jennifer Lopez is? But anyways,
any animal. But most agree, a female can reach the neighborhood of 20 feet long and violate the scales at nearly 550 pounds. You probably know the anaconda life deprives with an existing ending embrace, but it's not the suffocation that does you. It's the fact that they squeeze so tight, your heart can't pump against the pressure, and any blood flow to the brain gets blocked. Not to mention, backwards-facing teeth make it impossible to escape custody. An adult Amazonian anaconda is another apex predator, one that can swallow virtually anything, thanks to jaws that don't unhinge but actually stretch to accommodate, and a windpipe they can shove out of their mouths to breathe through like a meat snorkel. So Stevie Wonder could see how Titanoboa's little brother could easily void a human. But there is a catch. Human shoulders are the #1 reason most snakes aren't physically capable of swallowing a human, and even if they are, it is very, very rare for one to try, let alone succeed. And even though the biggest anacondas probably could, there are 0 cases of one ever eating a person. Let me say that again. It's never happened that we know of. People have been struck by condas, but the animal that eats like 5...
I mean, a few years back, you guys can Google this, but a guy, I'm assuming this was during the height of the Anaconda franchise. One guy tried to build this suit and he tried to basically get himself eaten by the anaconda, and apparently the suit would protect him. Anyways, he had like a ton of backlash because when the anaconda finally did try to eat him, he backed out because he got scared of dying or something. Anyways, a lot of people started to mock him, or basically got a lot of crap for that because he didn't go through with the stunt of being eaten by the anaconda while wearing the suit.
times a year and then spends the rest of it on power save mode definitely is doing it out of defense. Meaning if a paraplegic dragon bites you, you probably did something. I get it, but...
Yeah, if a paraplegic dragon tried to eat you, you probably did something. Yeah, you know what? That's the great thing right there.
This is not the snake to be afraid of in the Amazon. That would be, look, snakes have a worse PR than bats, so I don't even want to do them like that. But if you see a pit viper in a cut, pick a higher power and start a conversation. There's a lot of venomous snakes in the Amazon, and the most infamous is the common lancehead, or the fer-de-lance. Out of all the venomous snake bites in the Amazon, the common lancehead is responsible for up to 90%.
The common lancehead. Alright, got it.
Between 2012 and 2021, the number of common lancehead bites was 202,604, with 766 deaths.
Oh, definitely bad.
And I'm gonna link the study that said it in the description because I read it and I don't believe it. Lancehead venom isn't just toxic, it's designed to murk prey fast so the snake doesn't have to track them. The venom attacks tissues and blood cells and causes them to lyse and burst, instigating internal hemorrhaging while also blocking blood clotting with anticoagulants to keep you bleeding. And it happens fast. One 10-year-old girl was bit, and even with relatively quick medical attention, she still had to get her leg amputated. Another girl was struck, likely by a fer-de-lance, and the venom turned her leg into a black stick. You can look it up if you want. I'm sure I'm not going to show it here, but a black stick tinted green. That is what her leg was reduced to. Now, what cost her leg was the fact that she was originally treated with traditional medicine and not brought to a clinic until a month later. Most times with immediate medical, a majority of bite victims end up making a full recovery. And the fact that most bites end up being dry explains the low bite to death ratio. But it's when you get envenomated in an area of difficult or remote access that you're
just get some proper medical attention. Don't cut off anything yet. You might survive it.
You're basically a walking corpse. The sad part is, snakes don't want to resort to using venom unless they think their life is in danger. In fact, most times the snake will bite at you instead of biting you. But lanceheads often hunt rats in coffee or banana plantations, which can lead to a double-edged jump scare for them and the farm workers. So while everyone's scared of Satan's weighted jump rope, it's a snake you don't see that should scare you. Also, honorable mention to the Bushmaster. With a name like that, you are not to be played with. You got it. But it's not just the venomous occupants that'll fold you. The poisonous ones will get you too. And the Amazon has the most poisonous animal on the planet. And the fact that it's a tiny skittle of a frog is the second biggest you of the forest. The same caustic hermit that could sleep comfortably on a quarter has enough toxins to one-shot 20 people, 20,000 mice, and 2 bull African elephants.
I mean, last time I saw this frog was in the Mel Gibson film Apocalypto, where he was literally rubbing his poison ammunition for his blow dart on the back of this frog.
are no elephants in the Amazon. This thing's built like a biblical punishment.
Crap.
Poison dart frog got its name from indigenous hunters rubbing their
Oh, there we go.
arrow
So
tips
it
on
is
the frog's
real.
back. If you were to get injected, at best the batrachotoxin would cause numbness and nausea. At a higher concentration, the poison that runs interference between nerves would cause paralysis, convulsions, and even seizures. Any higher, and the paralysis of the diaphragm and heart failure would cause suffocation, cardiac arrest, and death. To add insult to permanent inactivity, it's not even their poison they're packing. That is a stolen bag. The amphibian poison pill gets it from the beetles they eat and open carries the chemicals. To my knowledge, a poison frog hasn't directly packed up a person, but recently Russian opposition Alexei Navalny was lethally poisoned by, poison frog poison. So on the list of animals to fear in the Amazon, rancid rabbits are pretty low. Mostly because their dress code is a literal red flag, along with green, gold, and all the others. Getting in the water is different, because you'd likely never see it coming. So what is the scariest fish in the Amazon? Because there are a lot of options. The Arapaima is a several hundred-pound armor-plated Jurassic guppy.
Is it the penis fish? Because one of the most Amazon thing was that this fish that goes inside the urethra. So I'm assuming it's the penis fish.
That can easily turn your lights off. Bull sharks are considered the most aggressive shark species and the closest to the stereotype, and they've been known to venture up the Amazon. And while they're not as unhinged as their reputation is, and attacks in rivers are super rare.
Yeah, my vote's on the peni fish.
Murky river water is the best place to become a shark statistic. And the pacu has human teeth and has been nicknamed the ball cutter. No further comment. But the most infamous fish in the Amazon is the candiru. And they're the reason people say you should never pee in the water.
There we go! See,
legend,
I was
parasitic
right.
pin needle will follow the urine up your urethra when
It's
they get
the
lodged
penis
up there with
fish.
their backwards facing spines. Think of the anaconda's jaws, but clamped inside the most sensitive part of your body. And allegedly, only invasive surgery can remove it. But in all of
Just by
humanity's
looking at it.
there has been only one recorded case of such a fate, with one man in 1997.
Yeah, but it's one it's one to make sure I will never visit the Amazon.
That a candiru jumped out of the water, swam up his pee stream, and into him. Yet science has proven that not only is that physically impossible, like fluid physics, it has also been proven that candiru aren't even attracted to human urine. The piranha is another fish with bad PR, but we now know that they're mostly shy scavengers that also eat plants. You could
I remember, Jeremy Wade, that episode where he jumped on the river. Nothing happened.
sit in a pool of feeding piranhas and, like a toddler's vegetables, likely go untouched. Now, attacks do happen, and headlines can be something out of a horror movie, but they're rare, and usually only in times of extreme environmental stress and shallow water. Also, the whole piranha flesh-stripping a cow thing was actually a psyop staged by locals to impress President Theodore Roosevelt. You're much more likely to accidentally eat a piranha than the other way around, and even the pacu's ball-biting reputation has been greatly exaggerated. So what's the scariest fish in the Amazon? It's definitely the one that's less eel than fish. The electric eel is actually a night fish related to a catfish, but it's closer to an aquatic taser. The fact that
I'm still voting for the penis fish.
there's a fish that's just up and recognize electric.
You get lights out. That's it. But a penis fish? I mean, you're gonna feel that. But here, an electric shock. I don't know, electric chair. So again, a penis fish versus an electric shock. I'll take a shock.
And we just all accept that as a fact of life. It's the third biggest middle finger the Amazon has to offer. And at 8 feet up to 40 pounds, this imitation eel has killed people. But it's not the electricity you worry about. It's getting knocked out in water and drowning knee deep. It's also the fact they can jump out of the water to tase you, which a scientist discovered by accident when he tried transferring one into a new aquarium and nearly got fried in the process. Not to mention, 8 feet of not an eel can have all their vital organs packed into 20% of their body. The remaining 80 is reserved for electric organs. It's one of those things you blindly accept as a kid, only to severely question the existence of as an adult. So we went through mammals, reptiles, fish, and amphibians. That only leaves the most dangerous group of all. Kinda. Because spiders aren't insects, but damn it, they're going in this section. Oh, yeah, spider warning.
Alright.
Owie.
Why does everything need to be?
Goliath bird-eating spiders are the largest tarantulas in the world. The funny thing is, they rarely prey on birds, but the naming guy made
I've never actually, held a tarantula or any kind of large spider. I've held a lot of snakes though, because one of my best friends, or oldest friends, is into snakes. And I remember buying him one for like $2. Which escaped, by the way.
Damn sure you don't forget they can. They mostly
Like, we didn't feed it for like 2 days. Like, what do you feed it?
go for rats, frogs, lizards, sometimes snakes, and they do this by paralyzing prey with venom and then liquefying their insides with enzymes to turn the prey into soup. But as that one weird spider apologist that refused to kill them as a kid, I gotta say that tarantulas are virtually harmless, with venom no worse than a wasp sting, and they've never killed a human. The most dangerous
I've got stung by bees and wasps, so not that bad.
thing about them is
Hurts,
that
but
they're
not
terrifying
that
of
bad.
humans and will flick highly irritating hairs into your face as defense, and those hairs are absolute hell if they get in your eyes. And as intimidating as a Goliath might be, they're like a soft-shelled lobster to a coati. And people too, because the tarantula is considered a delicacy. Now this spider is a different ballgame. The Brazilian wandering spider is responsible for thousands of bites a year, with an estimated 40,000 occurring annually in its namesake country. Like the tarantula, they're also afraid of people and lash out defensively. The problem is, they also hide in dark crevices, which leads to a mutual jump scare from people. They have an especially bad habit of finding themselves inside shipments of bananas. There was one time a store in Austria was shut down for several days after one spawned out of a banana crate like a jack-in-the-box. Appropriate response, because the Brazilian Antichrist venom has a lot of effects: paralysis, trouble breathing, but the most infamous side effect is that envenomation can cause a painful, several-hour case of priapism. Now Google priapism and you'll understand why this is the #1 middle finger of the rainforest. One that can end your baby-making career permanently. But even with thousands of recorded bites a year, there have been less than 20 deaths recorded since the 1900s. Mostly because, again, animals don't love to waste venom, and most bites are dry, and even if they aren't, with anti-venom, you're almost guaranteed to be fine. That being said, you better have anti-venom. I love Die Hard, not enough to live it. That being said, I'd take a spider over a centipede. The Amazonian variety is the largest on the planet, and they punch way above their weight class, with a prey list that
look like
includes
it.
birds, bats, and rats. Centipedes like this can submit prey 15 times their size with paralyzing neurotoxic venom. And it is no exaggeration, one of the most painful bites a human being can experience. It probably won't kill you, and that's not as a favor to you. There's at least one case of a centipede subtracting a person, and it was when a Venezuelan child opened a soda can and was mortally wounded by the crawly hidden inside. That does raise one hell of a question though. Would you rather take a bite from a centipede or stings from bullet ants? How it got its name is pretty straightforward, but its indigenous name translates to the one who wounds deeply, as well as 24-hour ant, because you're scheduled for 24 hours of agony and untold suffering once you get bit. Entomologist Justin Schmidt has described a sting as less like a gunshot and more like walking over flaming charcoal with 3-inch nails stuck up your foot. The ants are even used as a rite of passage for the Setere Maura.
I remember this one. I saw this one, where a guy went through this ritual.
Those initiated having to wear a glove of these piss ants for some time, all while being lit up by the insects. It's a process that can cause temporary paralysis and hallucinations, and the process is done not once, but up to 20 times. It's a different level of pain, but one that's
because
not
why
lethal,
not?
as bullet ants have never killed a person.
Thankfully.
So as unpleasant as a run-in with a wandering spider, centipede, or ant army would be, those aren't the bites you fear the most. This is. Because the kissing bug is statistically one of the deadliest animals in the Amazon.
This one I've never heard of, because in all my years of watching Nat Geo, History Channel, and all that other stuff, this one I've never heard of.
10,000, with over 7 million people infected. And it's because the assassin bugs can spread a parasite that delivers Chagas disease. A parasite they spread through their poop. Once you accidentally rub the infected feces into a bite wound, you've been got, and you often don't realize it until you wake up looking like you lost an argument to Mike Tyson. It's an uncomfortable, unsightly disease, one that erases tens of thousands of lives in the Amazon.
That's bad.
Allegedly, Charles Darwin. It's highly suspected that the long-time 40-year illness and eventual demise of the father of evolution was caused by a one-time run-in with a kissing bug and the development of Chagas that came after. By the numbers, that makes this bug one of the deadliest creatures in the jungle.
Interesting.
But not #1. That spot goes to the deadliest animal of all time. The animal you should fear the most isn't a jaguar, anaconda, caiman, or even unethical Viagra. It's the mosquito. The mosquito has buried more people than every single war in human history combined. And it's no different in Earth's biggest jungle, as Anopheles darlingi has killed untold numbers of people, as largely the biggest vector of malaria.
There we go, malaria.
Maladies like dengue, yellow fever, and even Zika. I consider them so dangerous because there's no confusion if a jaguar or viper bites you, but mosquito bites can easily go under the radar until you wake up to the Grim Reaper on your nightstand. And the worst part is, mosquitoes could easily be way worse. One, because only females suck blood, but also because out of the thousands of species, mainly 3 are responsible for census cuts on humanity. One adjustment by them
Backwash. Tiger mosquito. Quite prevalent here in this little island of ours.
and they could possibly wipe us out, but again, it might be our own fault they're so dangerous, as deforestation has boosted the number of bites, and those same deforested areas can have biting rates 278 times the normal. And that's why it's humans that are tied for the most dangerous animal in the Amazon. It's been said that deforestation has killed 500,000 people in the last 20 years, with nearly 30,000 a year attributed to heat stress. But human-caused deaths can be even more direct, as over 1,700 activists have been murdered in the Amazon between 2012 and 2021, while trying to prevent activity like mining, oil drilling, and logging. That's more than the deaths due to jaguars, anacondas, caiman, venomous snakes, and spiders combined. So no, I'm not just being edgy when I say one of the most life-threatening things you can run into in the world's most dangerous jungle is another human. And most of those murked were indigenous activists fighting for their land. Now keep in mind, it was also humans that nearly drove the caiman out of commission, a panther into past tense, and many, many more. As for the Amazon, it is as dangerous as it is beautiful, and the animals in it are really only doing what they can to survive, and both are worthy of our respect and fear. Because the most terrifying thing about them is the reality of a world where they're not here.
Why? 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 There's honestly no need for this. No, really. Anyways, you guys, thank you for the likes. Subscribe, or these animals will get sad if you don't. Anyways, bye. Wait, what's the next one? Ah, yes. Okay. The return of YARRICK and 40k lore. Anyways, you guys, here's the thing, right? We're gonna have to save this up for like Wednesday. For the simple reason that I need to get to some stuff. I need to literally just answer some messages because there was like a life and death situation for my friend out there, and messages needs to be answered. So yeah, again, you guys, thank you for joining me for tonight. I will see you on Wednesday. Alright, bye.